the other thing we're missing sometimes, in some podcasts, but in society as well, is raw, honest opinions. And that's what I really love about your show, is that, you know, you're not just kissing, you know, or worshiping at the altar of the Housewives. If you have an opinion that differs, you're going to say it. And that's great. It doesn't mean you're not a fan of the show. It doesn't mean you don't appreciate the culture. It doesn't mean you don't want to have so-and-so on the show. You're just expressing your opinion. And I feel like that kind of honesty is needed a little bit more in the media as well, even in unscripted, you know, because otherwise we're just trying to serve this corporate beast. Or, you know, a podcast like yours, like, oh, I better not say anything bad about this because I want, you know, to keep getting their support, or that sort of thing. So I think, you know, in the creative arts, we've got to be honest, and that sometimes is going to mean making mistakes too. Not you, but me. You know, it's just, as artists, that's what we do. And you know, going back to cancel culture, or even some of the woke culture now, it really disturbs me, because as writers, we want to be creative. We want to push the boundaries. And when I was in college, my friends would do this, and that would mean I crossed the line. That was a little sign, a little karate chop. I crossed the line. But as a writer, I'm supposed to cross the line. As a performer, you're supposed to cross the line. It doesn't mean you don't pull back. And if you maybe offend somebody that you realize, you know, was hurtful, you can apologize for it. But as creative people, and again, yourself included, we've got to push the boundaries. That's what makes things interesting. And that's even what opens perspectives, right? Like, I thought I knew Sandra Bernhard so well. I'm a huge fan. But I was so fascinated by your interview with her. I got to know more. And then also too, when you were asking her, I'm like, oh my God, he's asking her about that. And her answers were so beautifully reflective, I thought, in that, you know, she would pause and then answer you very honestly and tell you to call her Sandy. Oh, nothing. But that there was an allowance for somebody else to have an opinion, even if she didn't necessarily understand it. Like when she was talking about Roseanne, was just fucking fascinating.
That, and you know, I thought you were referring to the fact that I asked her about Madonna. Look, I mean, there are
Yeah, that
questions where
too.
I'm
That
like,
too. That was
I
good.
do sit on pins and needles as things come out of my mouth at times, but I'm like, I have to ask you this. I mean, you know, it's like, then by the third question, you're like, I mean, you learn to read the room and you know where the pressure points are going to be. I'm like, I'm sure the last thing Sandra Bernhardt wants to be asked about during this interview is Madonna. However, I have to ask, you know, and it's
Sure.
like,
And she
you have
expressed
to.
that, right?
Yeah.
She's like, well, I've already talked about it, but then you still got some stuff out of her. So that was good. But yeah, no, you're right. Because, you know, when I'm, you know, washing dishes and listening to the podcast, I'm like, I want to know this. Is David going to, oh, David is going to ask it. Okay, good.
I always ask it, and if I don't, it's usually because I've gotten some prior note that under no circumstances can these words come out of your mouth. And then you're like, "Ah." And then I do push back, and it's just like, you know how this business works. It's like a song and a dance until it just somehow all happens.
That's right. That's like before our interview, I said, David, please do not bring up my matinee idol good looks, because I'm sick of hearing about it and people always wondering why I'm behind the camera. So please, David, let's not go there.
You're
And
like,
you have respected
please.
it. Thank you. Thank
Well, you
you.
know, maybe you could write yourself a little part in your next Lifetime movie.
That's right. That's right. A little. I always my favorite thing of that is Pee-wee's Big Adventure, when he's playing the hotel clerk, at when Pee-wee is, and he keeps looking at the camera, and I'm like, yeah, that'll be me too. I'll just walk in. It's funny, in my college movies, I did do like a little Alfred Hitchcock thing where I would, you know, appear in the background of one or two. And I was also very heavy back then, so it was a Alfred Hitchcock moment for sure. But we'll see. We'll see. I'm a ham at heart, as you are probably gleaning.
I grew up an overweight, closeted gay child too. Not as overweight as you, because I have done some research on you, but I was overweight, which I think is a
Yeah.
defense mechanism for a lot of gay children.
Uh, I think that's absolutely true, and can be a reason that we're shunned as well as gay men, right? So yeah, it's an interesting journey. I think I think so much of it. Again, it's that connectivity, though, right? When we hear about that, and we hear, I don't know, are you familiar with the singer Blue Eyes?
No.
she's amazing. You got to look her up. She has a new song out called I Used to Be Pretty, and it is fucking genius. And it's the reason it resonates, the lyrics resonate, is that we can all relate to that. You know what I mean? We all want to be pretty, you know? And the good news is, as I like to trumpet, you can be pretty at 450 pounds, which I was when I graduated from college. I wanted to live a happier, healthier life. You know, at that weight, I couldn't even talk on a phone without getting breathless. But the thing I had to learn was to love myself then, and then I could initiate positive change. But so I love that there's dialogue about it now, but I also feel like you know, we've got to, again, do it in a way where we're not shunning people, right? Like I've had some people on Twitter be like, you're fat shaming because you're talking about losing weight. I'm like, I'm really not. And read my book. Anyway, I'm rambling, but I Used to Be Pretty by Blue Eyes. Oh my God, incredible.
I'll
Check her
have to
out.
check it out. You think you mentioned Mommy Meanest too? Is this a real thing? If this, I mean, this
Yeah, I've
movie
talked
is
about
good,
it.
really.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, especially during a compliment. But yeah, no, I think there would be a really fun way to see Madeline getting out of prison. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen the movie yet, and please do stream it. But her getting out of prison, going to where her daughter has set up a new life, and then the daughter is cyberbullied again, even more relentlessly than before. And of course, everybody suspects Madeline, but is it her? I think that could be really, really fun to explore these characters, you know, and especially since, you know, we've teed it up that Mia, the daughter, goes off to college with her boyfriend, who Madeline had tried to break her up with. So I just feel like there's some elements that we can pull from the first one and make an adequate sequel. But I would want it to be not just a sequel for sequel's sake. I would want it to be something that really took the story to the next step.
I could already picture it. Yes, and then it's not Madeline
No,
this time.
it's not her. It's a
It's
big
someone
fucking
else.
twist ending. And probably, I'm pitching you right now. And probably at the end of the movie, Madeline has to save her daughter and maybe even gets killed. So that, you know, in the end, it just was sort of all made right. And, you know, to just make it a super Shakespearean tragic ending. That's right. I compared my writing to Shakespeare.
Well,
Don't at me.
listen, you could also have like Madeline involved in like trying to figure out who it is because she's so good at it because she already did it once. And
She knows it. That's right.
yeah.
She's yeah. And I think that's really the fun of this. You know, the other movie, the Lifetime movie I mentioned is so dark. Um, but this movie is fun. You know what I mean? It's kind of twisty and turny, and you know, you kind of want her to get caught, but you don't want her to get caught. You're not sure, you know, how far she's going to push things. And so I think that it not to use the word caper, but that there's that element to it. And so I think, you know, there's a real way to continue the story.
And I think like this is a compliment to you and to Lisa Rinna is like you know it's her, but not always. Like you do have moments of like maybe this twist. I mean, until the daughter